Rage on that beat, going crazy.
Hey guys, Chris here with Angler Unit. I know what you're thinking. What happened to Duda Fishing? This used to be the Duda Fishing channel. I'll tell you what happened, and I'll tell you sort of a little bit about my background and where we're going. And I'm really thanking you now for paying attention to this and, having some curiosity about it. So one thing I learned in the 3 years of, dabbling in YouTube, people that have YouTube fishing channels, I think we all stereotype them as a little bit self-serving and sort of chasing subscribers. It's probably true for, at least half of them, but I've gained such a newfound respect for a lot of these people because they're not making money like you think they are, for one. And the other thing is they're giving you a huge piece of themselves. They obviously love angling, like we all do. But let me tell you what my issue was. And that's where my background comes in. I was, I started fishing at a young age in the 70s, and then I got really hardcore into bass fishing in the early 80s when I was probably, 12 years old or so. In the 70s, I started skateboarding as well. I don't know, it was just somehow I found it and never stopped. So, I did a lot of what I would call like outsider sports. I always gravitated towards those outsider subculture things, those kind of sports, like alternative sports, skateboarding, surfing, bodyboarding, snowboarding. I just like those types of activities. I always had really good balance, and I always loved, those were the sports that I loved. I just really liked the subculture of them. Now, that was what I did socially with all my friends, and I love that kind of camaraderie and how that, like, there's that subculture just sort of, no matter how many differences there are in it, it's like everyone sort of gets everyone else. For me, fishing was sort of my escape. Fishing was always like, that was how I meditated. That was how I got away from everything. It was sort of something that I kept to myself. And that was the thing I snuck off and did alone, without other people. Like, I liked the meditative quality of being on the water, because when I was on the water, first of all, it's a mystery. You're looking at water and you don't know what is underneath that water. And to me, that was like mind-blowing. And it still is. Like, it's another world under the surface. And, fishing is one of those few activities that you can do where you can interact with animals from literally like another realm, and you don't have to kill them to interact with them. And I think that's beautiful. And so there was this like mystery and wonder that I always had about water and like what lived in it. And then there's the meditative quality of like, when you get to the water, where are they? What are they doing? How do they see things? What's the right presentation? And when I was growing up in the 80s, like, we had like In Fisherman magazine, and like maybe if you were lucky, you caught like Bill Dance or Roland Martin or someone like that on a Sunday afternoon when you weren't doing stuff with your friends and you're flipping through the channels. Maybe you found a television show. But again, I'm from the Northeast, so a lot of those channels were aimed at, you know, people that fish more like southern reservoirs and out west. So a lot of the tips and tricks didn't really fly here. And so we had to figure out everything for ourselves. And, you know, like what worked in like most of the country like just doesn't work here. So that was part of it that I loved, was this puzzle piece, putting things together and trying to figure out, you know, well, this is what I hear works, but in practice, this is what works. It's sort of, you know, blending those two worlds. So, you know, it became very Zen-like for me. So fishing's always been there for me, like my whole life. It's always been there. It's always been this great way to commune with nature. And when I started doing YouTube videos, what I found was that it was, for lack of a better word, an invasion of my solitude. I became conscious of this thing on my chest, and like I felt like I had to provide a narrative, and I had to provide a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of education. And so when I was on the water, I was thinking about like, well, this is what I would normally do, but you know, this might be more appealing to people. Like there was just this dynamic where I was fishing, but I felt like I was fishing through other people's eyes, and it totally threw me off my game. Now there's people that can strap a camera to their chest and it doesn't change a thing about how they fish or how they commune with nature. It's just there and they don't even realize it. I became way too conscious of it, and I found it very intrusive, and I didn't like it. And I felt like it changed the way that I was always dialed in as a fisherman. I just didn't like the combination of you know, feeling like I was babysitting a camera and batteries and memory cards while I was on the water. Like it was like mixing work with like not just pleasure, but something that was like therapeutic for me. So during the pandemic, I decided, you know, I wanted to make a love letter to fishing. And that's what Angler Unit is born from. So, you know, if you've followed me on Instagram, you realize what I do is retro tees like this. And really, for me, what it is, again, it's a love letter to the past when it was a little bit more pure, a little bit more innocent, a little bit more naive. You know, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, late 20th century, vintage designs, you know, innocent or more innocent time in fishing, where I think people were a little more connected to their environment and the water and not, you know, glued to electronics as much. And I love electronics, but, you know, I really wanted to pay homage to that time period. And so Angler Unit was a way for me to use my background and my training in graphic design, and sort of, you know, bring together graphic design and my love of fishing. But Angler Unit isn't, you know, this isn't about like the t-shirts, the vintage t-shirts that I make. What I do is branding, and that's what I've done my whole life, and that's what I went to school for. And I love helping other people do their branding. And I really want to bring together all the different disciplines of fishing under an umbrella. And so it's not just about the branding that I do for myself. It's about branding others. You know, as a classically trained graphic designer, I want you to know you can reach out to me and we can work on giving you a look for either your, you know, Instagram or your YouTube, whatever it is, give you a cohesive look. That's something I really enjoy, and I like to help people tackle that problem, no pun intended. The other thing that I really want this channel to be about is growing awareness of other people and other accounts in this industry and showcasing what's out there and what, you know, I like to look around and see like who's doing really unique things right now, and taking people along on a really cool journey in angling. I want this channel to be a conduit for everybody in the angling community. I like to highlight awesome Instagram accounts or awesome YouTube channels where, you know, I don't want this to be about me. I want to be a part of the community and bring people together and have some laughs and talk to them and interview them and find out what makes them tick and sort of get those stories that we don't get from their channels. So I think this would be like a great place to introduce those other channels. And, you know, I like mining for gold and finding people out there that, you know, have something going that's like really interesting. And, you know, I love promoting other people and making the community feel more cohesive, because I feel like we have an awesome pastime, and there are people out there doing really awesome stuff right now, and I'm really fascinated by their channels, and I'd like to talk to them and sort of get their background and like what drew them into fishing, and, you know, and then put that out there for people to see. All right, so most of you know Angler Unit as my Instagram account, where I make vintage tees that harken back to a more innocent time in fishing. And that's a creative outlet for me as an artist, and that's something I love to do. But I love doing branding for people. I love helping others brand themselves and market themselves and find a cohesive look that really represents who they are, and like make them feel good about their stuff and make them feel empowered. And, you know, what I want Angler Unit's YouTube channel to be about, like, yeah, I'm going to show you some shirts I'm working on and some stuff. I'm going to bounce some stuff off you. Sometimes I come across like some gear or a product that I'm just so geeked about that I want to show you or talk about it. Or maybe there's something about angling that annoys me and probably annoys you guys the same way. And like sometimes we can hash out, you know, some of our issues on here. But one of the things that I really want to achieve with this channel is there are a lot of people out there doing really cool stuff, and I want to get to know them with you and talk to them and, you know, showcase some of the more interesting things that are going on in the angling community on YouTube. And, you know, a lot of these people, they put in a lot of work, and I know everyone thinks it's for glory and glamour, but I know a lot of these people, and for a lot of them, it's just a love of angling. And I think it's really cool. I mean, they don't really tell you like what got them to this point, or like what drove them, or what experiences made them fall in love with the sport. So that's kind of the stuff I want to dig into. So I want really Angler Unit to just be about a love of fishing, a love of angling. You know, multiple disciplines. I'll talk to people from every corner of the angling universe. I think it's an awesome subculture, and I don't think it gives itself enough credit. And, you know, in some ways we're all outsiders, and in the best way possible. I mean, those are the people that do the coolest stuff, are the outsiders. And, you know, I'm not about, you know, chasing elite level pros. This is about the everyday people and how they use angling to enhance their lives, and how they're interested in the sport and in the industry and in the outdoors, and what do they get from the outdoors, and what do we all get from the outdoors? You know, how does it feed our souls? And at the same time, we're all, you know, a little bit, you can't be in this sport and not be somewhat of a tackle junkie. I mean, it's like toys for grown-ups, and we all know that. Like, we're grown-ups, but, you know, tackle gear is kind of like toys, and we get excited about it, and it's like okay for us to buy that. You know, we're not dorky for buying fishing lures versus Star Wars figures. I love Star Wars, by the way. You know, so there's a lot of fun stuff about this sport. It's really awesome, and I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm glad you took the time to watch me blab about this. I might do some shameless plugs here and there of my own artwork, but you know, I think we're gonna find some cool people and some cool accounts to follow, and, you know, I want to interact with you guys. So Have an awesome day. Stay safe and get in fishing while you can, because nothing lasts forever and work can always wait. All right, talk to you guys soon.